Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first hard truth of 2023. Hi, Alana.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, and all the better for seeing you. And thanks everybody for coming into the stream here. As you know, we're doing this one live, so wherever you are watching this, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, on Getter, on Twitter, on Odyssey, on Rumble, wherever it is, anyway, you're all very, very welcome. This is, as I said, this is exciting because this is the first time Alana and I have got together thus far in 2023. So it's a real pleasure. Now, Alana, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump onto a different screen to bring up the getters so I can see what the folks over there are saying. So over to you.
Yes. Oh, you want me to speak? Imagine that. That's ridiculous. David, I thought I was just going to sit here and look semi-pretty or something. Yes, I was watching the BBC, and I know how sensitive you are about, just a little tease for you, how sensitive you are about fostering a gentler sport and how active you are against masculine toxicity. So I thought I'm teasing you. I would bring up this story they covered quite at length. Now, what I know about rugby, other than I'm a total fan of the Springboks, my team, go South Africa. And the only reason I'm a fan of the All Blacks, the New Zealand All Blacks, is because they perform this magnificent, very military haka. And that is something to behold. You don't want those people in your face. But anyhow, BBC ran at least half an hour segment about I don't know if you know Campbell Johnston, one of the All Blacks, and he has come out as gay, and he wants to contribute to softening the image of the New Zealand All Blacks. I thought you might have a comment about that. With toxic masculinity.
See, this annoys me because there's no need for it. Look, I love sport. Actually, I'm a big rugby fan. I remember going to see the World Cup final when New Zealand played England back in about 2018 or 16. So I've big fan of rugby. My view is I couldn't care less if they're gay or not or whatever. I just keep it out of the sport. I don't care. Not interested.
Exactly, David. My thoughts precisely. Whether you're het or homo, I don't give a damn. Just keep it in the bedroom. And I wanted just to remind of Ayn Rand's magnificent words. She said, "Civilization is the progress towards a society of privacy. Het or homo, I don't care what you do. As long as you say, you don't frighten the horses and you keep it out of
there is that.
But if civilization is the movement towards privacy, where are we?
Well, exactly, because it's gone the opposite way. They have to sexualize, and particularly the LGBTQ plus blah 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 agenda into every sport, and it's, as I said, annoys me because I'm not a fan of all sports. I'm limited, I gotta admit, but rugby is a game that I like.
Who are the champions? I couldn't get that off Google. It's Springbok, no?
In terms of the South African, I don't think it's South Africa. No, I don't think it is. I think it's New Zealand still, isn't it? But it's certainly not England. It's definitely the Irish are very good though. Irish might even have a chance of winning it. But I always saw, Alana, rugby as actually, I tell you, just before we'll move on to the main topic in a second, but just on this one. Rugby is a game that men and women can enjoy, but let's be honest, it's a man's game. It's got all that toxic masculinity, which I think we need more of. But
there's nothing like that haka when they perform the Maori war dance, isn't it? A war dance.
Hey, Alana, quick question for you. Just share your opinion with us on this. What do you think of women's rugby?
Oh, I'm not big on rugby, but I'm not interested in women's football. We grew up on football in Israel, so I'm not interested. It's just like I'm a big fan of track and field. That's my thing. And I can't watch the 100-meter dash, which is my favorite race, the women's. I can't watch it. I mean, Usain Bolt compared to who? XYZ. It's just not the same thing. So as a woman, I don't care. I just want the excitement. Basketball, the same. Although they're good, the ladies are quite good, but it's not the same as the guys. It's a different level of sport.
It is. It just is. This is where reality comes up against wokeness. And Gene Eyes, who I think is Gene Eyes over on Rumble, I think, is saying sexuality should have nothing to do with sport. Amen. Totally agree with that. Keep it out. But of course, the toxic media and the wokery will bring it in. And we saw a final word on this, Alana, before we move on. I don't know if you saw it. There was a hilarious video going around.
Absolutely. Leonard?
No, not Leonard. No. This was
Doctor.
Finland's first trans skater. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh no. Shame.
Their first breakthrough trans skater, who the difficulty was they couldn't skate. I mean, I don't know if you've gone skating or not. I remember trying to skate. In New York, there's that. What do you call the famous skating bowl up beside? Yeah, and I mean, I really struggled. It was not easy, and but I still did better than this first trans ice skater. But anyway, as Grantonians,
we have a viewer from New Zealand, and maybe he'll comment on that.
Blitzer's talking about the New Zealand being all woke. Yeah, I see you. I see all you guys, by the way. Thanks everyone for being here. And if you folks are on the Rumbles, we try and bring your comments in. We can't actually just see them because of the way this works, but our producer can see them all. So yes, thanks everyone. Republican Rocker, Claude, Double Deplorable, all of you folks. Appreciate you being here. Right. Okay, Alana. So it's been a while since we have had a chance to shoot the breeze about the big events that's happening in the world. And you have a column up or an article up on your blog, which I really I enjoyed reading it, because as always with you, you don't pull any punches. And that's one of the things we have in common, I think. And if we can, let's bring up, first of all, the article. And everyone, by the way, and make sure you follow Burley Blog, Alana Mercer. There it is.
That's the image I put up. That's terrible.
That, well, edgy, Alana. We need to be edgy. So anyway, so this was, well, as always, this is, Alana, seriously, like, what I really like is that you take your own, you've got your own take on things, and it's distinctive. And the more I read it, well, I've been here for a long time.
Well, you're one of the few people who's been reading it for decades.
So 23 years, I think, basically. So, but it's basically, you always get the target. And unfortunately, the politicians consistently miss the target, and the commentariat on the whole miss the target. So let's talk us through your article here, Alana, in terms of what you think the GOP should be focusing on, as opposed to perhaps that which they are, in terms of the Biden classified, all these highly classified documents which were turning up.
Why are we such a... I'm not a Republican any longer, and I doubt I'll vote. I might vote Ron DeSantis, but we did a good podcast about him and spoke about how he distinguishes himself as a man of action. He puts first principles into action, but the stupid party, I really have never seen anything like this. I did not think they would fall for the, the Democrat document bait, but they did completely fall for it. Every single, other than Tucker Carlson, who obviously has a better IQ than the rest of the egos in the anchors' chairs on Fox. But I mean, they've swallowed this bait, the Democrat-orchestrated ousting of Biden, and they are immersed in it. And where are we along the continuum of stupidity, David? We are at the Mar-a-Lago versus the Delaware distinction. That was Victor David Hansen, who's a smart man, but absolutely partisan. He cannot seem to transcend above whataboutism, the Democrats this, the Republicans this. So Republicans say that Trump did it right. That document, carelessness with classified documents, that was right. Biden did it wrong. That's where we are along the continuum of stupidity. They fell for the bait, and instead of that, we've missed the opportunity to really strike. Now, I'm not saying they didn't. Who's your friend, Lauren Boebert or something like that?
Lauren Boebert.
Yeah. So I'm not saying they didn't score something with the speaker, the battle over the speaker, and there's some very good safeguards in there. But they stopped, and now they're resting, right? So what do you think they've messed up on?
Well, you see, the first thing, and let's start at the top in this one, because it is really interesting. The point is that what you're saying is, and I completely agree with you, you see all the missing documents. Oh, we found them in Joe Biden's garage. And what a surprise. How did they get there?
You know, David, WikiLeaks dumped tens of millions of documents, actually, millions, about corruption untold.
Yeah.
Including classified. They're killing Assange for it. Do I fucking care about these documents? The national surveillance and police state are pretty much not in the closet any longer. They're not deep. They're pretty overt. This is ridiculous. There's no meaning. There's no meaning. Yep. They are endangering us with this escalation with Ukraine and Russia. And do I care about the documents? On the hood of Biden's Corvette, which he cannot drive.
Exactly. But the thing is, Alana, though, I mean, what's good about this is you saw through it. It was clearly a baiting for the gullible. I mean, I saw the
No, we don't want to raid Hunter Biden. That's another distraction. We've been over that. That's just to our reader. No, we don't care.
The point about it is that we have to focus on what's really crucial. First of all, these documents, it's clearly the Democrats behind this. They're playing a game. I believe they're the people, or their assets, the three-letter agencies have planted these. It means it's all much ado about nothing, as Shakespeare would say. But it's very highly effective, because so many people were going berserk about this one, going, yeah, this has to be the end of Biden. The Democrats are pulling your strings. Go back into Jed. Let's just bring up.
They're on the side of the Democrats. Wouldn't you be?
They are the Democrats. They are.
No. The evil party is baiting the cretin party.
So here's the points, Alana, that you were making, and these are the ones I really enjoyed reading these, because point by point, we have to avoid the whole issue of the US becoming South Africa, which unfortunately it is.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's
probably too late.
Ship has sailed, David. I'm sorry. I mean, when I wrote that book, I warned about this precisely. We are now a dominant party state. It's a phrase I used into the cannibals part. We are a dominant party state. We calls it a one-party state. No, it's a dominant party state. The Republicans will remain. We might have some other competition, but we're basically ANC and other stuff, the Democrats and other stuff. Yeah.
Well, the things that you're saying in this that should be focused on is, for example, the 4 to 5 million illegals, get them out of the US.
Immediately, Republicans call for rounding them up, every single one, and deporting them, and simultaneously not one more penny to go to their safe passage into our communities and to their maintenance. Yeah. That's one point, yeah.
Yeah. And then, as you said, actually, one of your points, actually, Alana, I think has been answered in probably the past 24 hours. You talk about we need to have all COVID tyranny repealed, such as that which prevents someone like me getting to the United States. And I think we saw today, Alana, Biden said that from May, they're going to drop the COVID tyrannies. Which is marginal.
David, initially, they've just renewed it until April, so he's pushed it to May.
Yeah, and I think
almost the entire developed world has dropped that. Even Canada, which was draconian, even you guys have dropped that.
Yeah,
and I argue further that, in particular, this is a ban on whites. And why do I say that? Maybe you will flag me for being hyperbolic. That this is a ban on white and unvaccinated subversives. Why do I say that? Because the regulations, why are they anti-white? because the regulations which I've read particularly say, specifically say
Yep.
that foreigners, not only the southern border do we see that they're only for law-abiding whites, but the foreigners who come from countries with limited supplies of the COVID vaccination are exempt from this rule. Who does that leave? Law-abiding people who have not had the vaccination, mostly from developed countries, like you.
Like me, people like me, absolutely. Alana, it's a crucial point, because that has to have been inserted as an anti-white point, because so basically anyone from I guess the African continent and other
where they can't get a vaccine easily. Come on in. But you can't come to visit me or us do a live here in Washington State.
That's right. Somalis can come in, but people like me have to be kept out. So you're right about that. But I mean,
it's
again,
it's a proxy for law-abiding. I'd hazard and say whites.
Yeah, well, I think it is. Yeah, and again, completely missed by most commentators, picked up by you, Alana, for which I think you got to be congratulated. Some other great points are, you talk about defunding all institutions that practice the wokery, the anti-whiteness, the critical race theory, which we know is anti-whiteness, anti-white baiting and stuff. I mean, these are key points. Launching civil rights actions against these financial
the federal government can and at least if you're not going to pass these things in the Senate, at least begin a conversation. But the Republicans don't even stand on those principles, constitutional principles.
No, and then of course the one of the big points, and we'll come on to this in a second in more detail, ceasing to bait the Russian bear, forcing a diplomatic solution, and a diplomatic solution.
Yeah, we'll segue to that when you brief us.
We will when we get into the fight. And I mean, and
what do you think about this regulation? To follow on the regulation, this is legislated by the TSA, the Department of Transportation Administration, and the Homeland Security, a department which, by the way, was founded by George Bush. So the DHS and TSA, they are legislating on our freedom of association. So isn't that and how we can associate with our friends and trading partners? Isn't this an opportune time for the GOP castrati to actually challenge the managerial state?
I love the term GOP castrati. I love it.
The administrative state is not supposed to legislate. That's the province of the provenance of Congress, right?
Yeah, that's the executive branch.
Isn't that a point for these idiots to make? I suspect they're all vaccinated, most of them. You think Marjorie Taylor Greene is vaccinated? Why aren't they saying something? Maybe they don't know anyone overseas, but we legal migrants who come from overseas, we have people we'd like to see or trade with or get together with. And here we are, while the third world is streaming into the country.
I know. It's by the way, Smokey Bear over on the Getters says, "Good afternoon, everyone, especially Alana."
Yes, I love him. He's on Getter. Thank you.
He's there we go. We've brought it up on the screen. He says, yeah, I've got snow for anyone that wants to borrow some. No, thanks. We don't want your snow. We want spring where I live. But nonetheless, Smokey Bear, thanks for being here. Biotech Babe, Sean, all of you guys. I see you all. Thanks for John.
So much for Kerry. He promised to.
Yes, Kerry has been. Kerry actually. I think.
Where is he?
He's on Rumble, so on as only Jed can see that stream. But he was Kerry was agreeing with us that this whole.
Can we post Kerry? I promised him we'd post him.
We did bring him up, Alana. He was on the screen. I
didn't see him.
He was on the screen, and an agreement that this whole distraction. There we go. There's a comment.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Kerry, the documents, and I agree, we both agree, complete distraction. But Alana, so much of what goes on is a distraction. The older I get, the more convinced I am that almost everything that we read and see is degrees of distraction to take us away from actually the things that are important.
Discussion. That's why I love talking to you, because we always get onto these things. You believe that it's orchestrated, but I always say that conspiracy relies on the parties to the conspiracy being really smart.
Well,
I think what you're seeing is the idiocracy. I think the worst rises to the top, as in a septic tank, and this is what you're seeing. You really are. Some of it might be orchestrated. You know, the medical idiocracy is definitely pretty malevolent.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Laura Ingraham, and they're really into the document. And we told you so. And look at your guy. They're into this.
Yeah,
our side. What is the interest of our side to speak about these documents?
Where were they when our freedoms were taken away? Where were they when bodily autonomy was to be sacrificed? Where were they? They were nowhere to be seen. So I take no lectures from them on anything, apart from Tucker Carlson. I like you. I'll make an exception there.
But have you noticed a tiredness come over him? And he's only been at it since, he should try being at it since 1999, my time in the trenches. But he's only been at it for about, 5-6 years. He looks tired. He looks drained, Tucker.
He does a lot of stuff, though. I mean, he does. He puts out, and I can tell you, when you do put out a lot of stuff, and I find this, being honest myself, I mean, with all the daily podcasts and all the stuff, you go through cycles, Alana, where your energy drops a bit, and I must mean he's in a different league to people like me, obviously. But I can understand you maybe have times when you're down a bit.
Having put out a column that I check every sentence for non sequitur. I mean, having put out a column like this for 23 years, I can tell you, I'm burnt out. I mean, it's hard to coordinate.
Well, my flame continues to burn, Alana.
Yes, you are.
I will, indefatigable, and maybe that's stupidity, of course, but I don't know if I'm.
It's the Irish optimism, and by the way, about Irish, thanks for introducing me to the best satirist around.
Oh yeah.
Have you got a picture of the eyes?
We'll get him in a sec. Kerry's saying here,
especially the Nerf gun for Ukraine, because we're going to speak about the Abrams.
So what Alana's referring to, and I think I've recommended this to most people, and Alana as well. So there's a guy on. He's on Getter. He's back on Twitter as well, actually. Dr. McConconk, who happens to be a fellow countryman of mine. And he has produced this grotesque character, the doctor, and Monkey Boy, who's his sidekick. And I don't know, Jed, if we can bring him up on his Twitter or his Getter, wherever. But he's been doing the most delicious. Almost.
My friend, we have to be short because our audience is American, and seriously.
Our
audience. That's not of satire. You don't think it? It doesn't appeal.
No, our audience are the smart people. Yes, the broader audience are different, but the people that follow us are, hopefully Jed's able to do this. I'm not sure if anything's happening. I can't see. So might have to skip it, Alana, because I'm not seeing anything happening. So no, I'm going to have to let that one go. So anyway, Dr. McConconk, excellent satire, very, very funny as well, which is unusual in 2023. Right, moving on, because I'm conscious of time. So Alana, I wanted just to touch on the whole issue of Ukraine, because did you realize it's about a year? I actually, again, I'm not sure if Jed will be able to bring this up. We did a rumble, you and I, a year ago.
We've been honored in when did it start? January?
There we go. De-escalate with Russia. David and Alana, a year ago. We were saying, before all this
of course,
stuff happened, we were saying, wow, this is not good. Do not go there. And Alana, that was, we were speaking about that pre-war. So one thing I would say
on our last podcast, we brought up the fact that we spoke about realpolitik negotiating, this little Zelensky runt having to have to live in a rough neighborhood. We brought up the realpolitik concept before its originator, which is Dr. Henry Kissinger. Go ahead.
Kissinger, who is remarkably still alive, actually, or is it? I'm not even sure that constitutes life, but he's still there.
He's more alive than the GOP.
All right. Boom. So anyway, but don't worry about it, because the way you bring peace apparently is you send in the tanks. So let's bring up this headline here. US joins Germany in sending tanks to Ukraine. And these are the 31 M1 Abrams tanks, the state-of-the-art tanks, or are they? To add to Germany's 14 Leopards. And apparently these, 45 or 45 tanks are going to take on the 1,000 Russian tanks. So 45, we're going to do 1,000. What's interesting? And here's my take. I just want to say this, Alana, and ask your view. You know, number one, I don't even believe these Abrams tanks will go. I don't even believe that.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, because they're talking about, oh yeah, we're definitely going to do it, but it'll probably be about April. Well, by April, it might be all over, number one. And number two, these tanks require, as far as I understand, Alana, a lot of skillful, maintenance and being able to keep. Who's going to provide that? It's not going to.
By the way, as you sent me an article, someone said it was a good article. It was Al Jazeera. It wasn't one of our newspapers.
It was Al Jazeera. Yeah, I did. Yeah, just by way of
very detailed and very good journalism. They spoke about the media congressional industrial complex. Spoke about a pretty hefty supply chain.
Yeah.
All involved in this. Yeah. What does that mean?
What it means is not going to happen, because I don't believe for one moment that the manufacturers of Abrams tanks would want to see their wonderful tanks going up in smoke in the Donbass at the hands of a US hypersonic missile. These tanks, by the way, they were okay in the sandy deserts where they fought, where they were used in Iraq. And whatnot, but in the frozen tundra of East Ukraine, no. So I don't believe that they will send them, and if they do send them, they're not going to make any real difference. And what did you think about the fact that then Zelensky turned around and said, right, well, you need to send us now aircraft and long-range missiles?
Yes. I heard. I don't know what to make of it. So you say they're not going to send. What is the whole exercise about then, declaring that they're sending these few tanks? What is it about then? But I did hear again on the BBC that they're not going to send F-15s.
No, they can't. No, there's no way. No, there's no way.
Why are they saying they will? You explain this to me.
I'll tell you, because
I'm in the dark.
Because this whole thing is a psyops. It's a total psyops where NATO, as you and I talked about, I think they've overplayed their hand. There's only going to be one winner here, and it's Russia, although I wish none of this conflict had taken. And actually, I just wanted to bring a comment that Jed made, and he knows, he's in a very position to know. Jed says to me that those tanks, those Abraham tanks, were not that okay in the desert. So not that okay in the desert, but they're going to be super duper in the frozen tundra of eastern Ukraine against up to 1,000 Ukrainian or Russian tanks and hypersonic missiles. Come on. So I just think, Alana, that it's desperation. It's desperation. NATO have gone in on this one full on against what you and I talked about, and I believe that a lot of this is propaganda. We're going to send in, don't worry, Zelensky's winning. Well, if he's winning, why does he need Abrams tanks in?
Why do you think? I know that it's not a free country, Ukraine, one of the most corrupt countries, and having grown up in Israel, where a lot of our immigration is from East Europe, It's how do you make a Ukrainian chicken? You steal the chicken first, a recipe for you. That sort of jokes would go around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up near East Europe, and so much of the Jewish immigration came to Israel from there. So I know the culture, but why? I know it's not quite a democracy, but they do have some elections. Why have not the people who are suffering shown any rejection of this awful little kept man?
I mean, I think Zelensky will end in the same way as every other US-supported tyrant ended. We've seen what happened to Saddam. Alana, you've written about it over the years. We've seen they all end up dead. They all end up impaled one way or the other.
Not the ones that are on the side and are absolute toadies. Not those ones. Bolsonaro, yes. Gaddafi was very adamant about putting up a front He even spoke about a gold standard at some point, so they had to take it out. Can our wonderful producer look at Rumble? I know some of my people might be logging on there.
Yeah, I'm sure if there's any comments on Rumble, Jed will pick them up.
So I don't think Zelensky is too much in the pocket of the United States in all its echelons, the Hollywood, the Congress, the Republicans, the Democrats, the media. He's too much of a darling on that front. No, he's fine. He's safe. So I don't think he will be taken out at all.
Well, then he'll have to flee to some godforsaken part of the world like California.
Why? But the public seem to be supporting him, if we are to believe our media.
But I don't believe, but I don't. Listen, the Ukrainian authorities are saying that in terms of those people killed, Ukrainians killed, Alana, they've put up figures like, oh, it might be 13,000, maybe 15,000. The last figure I saw was in the region of 200,000+ dead Ukrainians.
Yeah.
So, so everything I read about Ukraine in the media, I completely disbelieve, don't believe a word of it. I think it's going really, really badly for Ukraine. And that's why I think you throw in the Abrams tanks, or the prospect of Abrams tanks. I mean, the British government, they're going to send, I think it's 10 Challenger tanks or something. Means nothing at all. And they're not even proven in these conditions. So, I mean, look, from the beginning, you and I opposed all of this because neither you or I approve of war. We don't approve of young people on any side, Alana, losing their.
We also were very well aware of the backdrop, and we said clearly that with the war of aggression, Putin was wrong to launch it, but his back was against the wall, so to speak, with NATO acting as a proxy for the United States, encroaching increasingly. And him putting out document after please back off, no NATO on our borders. So he is in the philosophical right to launch a war of aggression. You and I agreed was a bad move. I think probably for Russia as well.
Nobody
if
wins.
we had to put up our little flags, we would have our flag of Russia, maybe.
Well, I mean, Kerry here says the Z man will retire and then make a killing on the lecture circuit.
Yes.
His ghost-written memoir. Yeah, Kerry, that's a good point. His ghost-written memoir will be a bestseller amongst pathetic liberals. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yes.
So I mean, so either which way, I just think this whole Abrams thing, it's a sign of desperation, not of strength. I think that I agree. Like, there's no good guys in this, but let's be clear on it. Russia back to the wall.
I think to an extent there is a good guy.
Putin.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't support his war, but yeah, he's in the right. But I think he underestimated, underestimated the United States as the evil empire.
Well, the thing that I think I underestimated, but not anymore, is, and we've said this, and it's a hard truth, but put it out there. NATO is the axis of evil.
Yes.
I'm sorry, folks, come at us, but NATO is the axis of evil. And it's proven that. If it wasn't in the past, but that's debatable, but if it wasn't in, let's say, maybe 40 years ago or whatever, it definitely has been.
But NATO is
the moment the Soviet Union fell, NATO, don't need it, get rid of it.
But NATO is a proxy for the United States and the United States interests, and funded almost completely by the United States.
Yeah. I'll completely. Well, actually, Alana, it's the United States in the lead position with the United Kingdom in the secondary position. So it just is. It embarrasses me as a Brit that the role that we've played. I mean, the most ludicrous one being, by the way, which made me laugh the other day, Boris Johnson said that that
accused Putin of
he was going to assassinate him by dropping a missile on him, and it was funny because this was a lie too far. You see, when we've talked about over the past year that they overdid it with COVID, and they thought, oh, you stop laughing at COVID. Monkeypox is coming, and we all laughed. We all laughed we mocked them over monkeypox. And when Boris Johnson said Putin threatened me with a missile was going to land in my head, instead of us being ever so sympathetic, we laughed at him. So, do you know, Alana, it is a clown show. The whole thing's a clown show. And I think
what is this? Putin is a Sabbatean puppet. What does it even mean?
Yeah, Ibersteller says Putin is a Sabbatean puppet. That's a good word. I don't. It's a very good word.
What is a Sabbatean?
I wish I was hoping you could tell me. Iber, tell us, Iber, type down what is a Sabbatean puppet. I'm not sure that he is, by the way. I don't
no, that's my anti-Semitic cohort. Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, maybe?
I don't know.
It could
I have
be
no idea.
something anti-Semitic meant that it's one of those, the Jews did it. The Jews ate our homework. I see. Oh, and by the way, have you noticed my Jewish hair today?
I enjoy that look. I enjoy your look, Alana. But the point about it is, it's good. It's Iber's also saying, "Oh, Biotech Babe says NATO must go, the UN too. Yeah, take them with you. Yes. Close down that big building in the East River. Get rid of it."
But so long as America has interests and is pulling the marionette behind. Is pulling the marionette strings, it's not going to happen. I mean, look at the EU. You seceded from the EU and
we did. Yeah, but
to the condemnation of the Anglo-American axis of evil.
No, unfortunately, Alana, today it's 3 years ago today since the UK allegedly left the European Union. And as I keep pointing out, no, we didn't. Northern Ireland was kept behind in the single market, so that in due course, and mark my words, this is my hard truth, in 4 or 5 years, hate to say it, we will be going back into the European Union.
And your man who spoke, so someone said that Putin is something about a puppet of the liberals. That is very strange, given that he's Orthodox Russian and has been very good on reviving the church, and is a reactionary traditionalist rather than a liberal. And that's a pretty silly comment. We had it come up here.
Well, the thing about it, this must be another one over from Rumble. I think it's Benjamin Mann says, also farmers aren't making all that. Don't know what that means. Benjamin Mann. But anyway, thing about live stream, Alana, the comments come in, you never quite know what people are talking about. But regardless, the point about it in all of this is, anyway, I believe that Abrams Tanks, rather like the documents, the Biden documents, they're all distraction. Keep your eye on the ball, which is actually what's happening on the ground, not what the media is trying to tell.
You don't think America is going to carry on wearing down at Russia to achieve regime change eventually?
I think that's what they want. I think they've overdone it. And I also think, Alana, think that just from a Russian point of view, if Russia do not sustain their position, there will be regime. Russia will be gobbled up, turned into another colony of the West. And I don't think the Russians will,
there's a large liberal cohort in Russia that misses their travel, that misses their bank accounts overseas. But and people, friends tell me that the things are not good there economically. But then I see other reports from guerrilla journalists traveling there and showing supermarkets like we don't have here in America any longer, with our shelves emptying out, and Moscow doing quite nicely and looking pretty spiffy.
We actually had an IMF report today that came out that was the International Monetary Fund. And I mean, not that I've put any confidence in the IMF, but they were grading countries by their economic prospects for 2023. The UK is amongst the G7 is going to be the worst performing country. Russia, get this, Alana, Russia, sanctioned and all the rest of it, is expected to perform better than the UK.
They've I don't know in what they're getting paid, but they're no longer getting tying everything to the dollar. They've got the Eastern axis going.
That's right.
With India and China.
Yep.
That they've got grain aplenty. They've got gas and oil aplenty.
Russian.
That's the engine of civilization.
That's right. Russian gas exports have risen, not fallen.
Of course.
But they haven't. They may not have gone to Germany.
I remember we covered it when we did a podcast on neutrality, when the push from the NATO Uncle Sam alliance was to obliterate the concept of neutrality, because India was attempting to remain neutral on the whole conflict, and trading was amping up the trading with Russia, especially for cheap oil. So I don't know. I don't have so much faith in the collapse of the evil empire. I think they're going to keep going.
Well, as long as they can, and ultimately, time will tell. I did enjoy Claude's comment. He says Russia has gotten rid of McDonald's, so their kids' health will be much better.
Yes.
Claude, I agree with that. I mean, it just goes to show you, out of adversity and all of that. Sean Ahern says, hiya, Sean. He says, I'm hoping civil war in France will destroy the European Union. We're perhaps a decade away from that. Well, actually, on a serious note, we'll not do it tonight. But when you look at, Alana, some of the demographic changes which are happening in Europe in particular, France in particular, there's a particular issue there. It's changing very dramatically, and ultimately, that may lead to that, Sean. I would love to see the European Union as a political entity destroyed. I would like
Nigel Farage, who led the secession from the EU so eloquently, now appearing on all the Fox stations, bashing Putin and really all in for. What do you make of that as a patriot bashing, all in for Ukraine?
Yeah, just a sellout, absolute sellout. And it's worth pointing out that Nigel Farage and another guy who you mightn't have heard of, but he's the leader of the Reform Party, which is the Brexit party that Nigel Farage formed after Brexit. They were both big advocates for the experimental gene therapy, So I consider these people to be complete shills. Gene Eyes over in Rumble says Russia's selling everything via Turkey. You're dead right. Or a lot of stuff's going via Turkey. And actually, you're right. It's going from Turkey back into the European Union. So it's all a farce anyway. The whole thing is absolute.
The doctor has a wonderful new coinage for the gene therapy, mRNA Agent Orange.
That's right.
Don't you love that?
I think actually I can see in the background, I think our producer has got, we'll wrap this up in a sec, but we've actually got, let's finish a good source of humor. If we can bring up
anything from Rumble.
Here is Dr. McHong. Here's a friend, as I say, a fellow Northern Irish person like myself. He does this this character, a doctor who is a psychopath, and this is his sort
sidekick.
Sidekick monkey boy. There's also another character called Leonard, who I think appeals to you as well, Leonard.
I like him for he calls him you spherical moron, because he's got the big McDonald's face.
There he is. There is Leonard. Look at that. Well done, Jed. That's Leonard captured. So if you want a good laugh, I do recommend
Doctor, when he finds out what our numbers are, views, 7,000 on the last, 14,000 before that, he will give us a little shout out because we're big fans.
We're big fans of him, and sometimes, Alana, I think satire is so strong, especially when it's done with an acid humor. And his humor is acid.
Distinctly the purview
British,
of that part of the world. It's definitely, I have it, having grown up with it. So
he does.
Me, and it's you, but it's not so North American. So
No, and maybe I'm not even sure if it travels. Biotech Babe says Salty Cracker is funny on Rumble. Yes, I listen to Salt. I listen to loads of. I listen to.
Can our wonderful producer have a last scan, because I've only given up the Rumble. Control the position. I've only given out the Rumble azimuth.
Yeah, so these are all the comments coming across from Rumble. So everyone's commented in Rumble. We've seen you. We've seen.
Thank you all. And just to close up with some of the other points that the GOP RIP might have been belaboring, or at least certainly, our whole federal scheme is a joke. It was thought up by magnificent men in white periwigs, very naively, the American federal scheme. It's no longer. So the obligation of clearing cities of homeless menace and the crime is now a federal duty. As I would say, one should centralize liberty, the negative rights, the rights to live free of molestation, clear homeless encampments, enforce law and order in the cities. GOP could be talking about that. As we said, defunding institutions that are promoting anti-woke whiteness, launching civil rights laws again, at least action against any institution that defunds and deplatforms people based on thought crimes. And of course, as you said, ceasing baiting the Russian bear. So we close up with those thoughts, and
I think we do that. And I'm just saying, a few people, some people seem shocked at the news that Nigel Farage is a shill. Well, we talk about hard truths here, and sorry, but that's another hard truth. Sometimes, the truth is not always very pleasant. And of course, I'm not saying Nigel Farage is a bad person. I'm saying he's done some good stuff. But quite honestly, anyone who got behind the experimental gene therapy is not someone, that was a moment of.
So did Trump. And he's had a very important.
That's my problem with him.
He had I mean, Trump was important on many levels, but you had a comment about one of his last. Do you want to still make that comment? You had a comment about his recent. We've covered his attack early on against Ron DeSantis. That was about
we did. We did. And actually,
Alana, so well, maybe the boss can just bring up that video so people can.
Well, do you know? I mean, I say, to be honest with you, we did chat about that off air. And this whole sort of we covered it before here on our hard truth. And the thing is, it's just more of the same. Trump is continuing attacking DeSantis. I personally don't think that's a good look, but I'm not a politician. And I suppose
he was quite eloquent in the text that in the social media text that you sent me. It was almost like it wasn't Trump, because he was very eloquent and witty. He's usually so turgid,
What, Ron DeSanctimonious and all that?
That's a little overdone, and it's kind of funny, but he did make the point about globalism and Ron DeSantis. What is that all about?
Yeah.
I never trusted Nigel. Much preferred Nick Griffin.
Nah, don't know. I go with that. No,
really?
No.
Who's Nick Griffin?
Nick Griffin was the leader of the British Nationalist Party, and not a good look. So I don't hold with that. I think Nigel Farage. Here's a thought. When people get involved in politics and when they move up, and things happen, and people can start pure as the driven snow, but politics corrupts, and only the absolute strongest can withstand that corruption one way or another. Being careful how I put this, one way or another. And I just think that that's something that we have to be aware of. Alana, I think neither you nor I look to politicians to provide the answers. I think we have to provide the questions, and that's kind of what we're trying to do. So
I worse than that. I view them as our employed by us to be hired and discarded like any other employer, but worse, because they are paid out of taxes. Their labor is unproductive. So if they don't uphold our negative rights, our leave me alone rights, the rights to our lives, liberty, property, bodily integrity, fuck them.
Get the hell away and leave us alone. I see actually quite a few comments coming in, basically saying DeSantis has some shady backers. DeSantis is not taking research for his little inquisition in COVID. I'll bash Ron too. Claude says Ron DeSantis is too close to John Bolton. So yeah, I mean, look,
are these truths? Is that all truth?
It's opinion. It's opinion, yeah. And who knows?
I don't know the facts. All I can say from Ron DeSantis is that the man doesn't talk. He does. and he acts on principle, and he pursues legislation on principle.
Well,
And that's what impresses me. And he's smart enough. Trump didn't get the connection between talking and doing and translating rights into action. And DeSantis does get it. He's moved very strongly against deep tech in the state of Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he doing much about the migrations? He's sent only 50 up north, not enough. But he's done very many things that prove that he understands. He's smart. He's bright.
I mean, I've got to be honest. If I could have a combination of Trump and DeSantis, I would be happy enough. I think most people would, because none of them are perfect.
The Trump punch. The guy's is absolutely his energy and how he gets up after all the impeachments, after all the raids. He's still going strong.
I know, and you got to admire that. I mean,
would me, I'd be in the fetal position in the corner.
well, the thing is, and given his age and all the rest of it, I mean, I kind of will stick with Trump, I think. But I also think that if you could combine Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, that's an unstoppable force. Although it's not really, for a reason we'll talk another time, because I believe...
for the reasons we've just discussed, reverting to the Republican. We've just detailed how the Republicans get the Congress, and in fact they had the Senate,
and do nothing,
Congress, and the Republican, and the president's and the gubernatorial field, and they revert to the Republican mean, which is playing the Democrat game, just being played for fools. There's so much bait.
Although I do think that your electoral system, the voting system in the United States, it's a banana republic, and that's why that was proven in 2020, proven again last year, Alana, in 22, and I think it's going to be proven again in 24. Sorry to be a doomster and gloomster, don't mean to be, but I have no confidence in the American voting system, and I don't know what we do about that, or if we can do anything about it. But apart from that, on that negative note, listen, everybody, look, wherever you've been watching this, I see all your comments. Yes, Gina, I agree. Serpents, the lot of them. Well said. I agree with that.
Please do subscribe.
Yes. So, as I say, if wherever you're watching this, if you're watching this on whichever platform, do make sure you follow Alana on Twitter and on.
Subscribe to Hard Pop.
And yes, but do that as well.
I'm going to be very strict with you, David. This is about hard truth. Don't follow David. Don't follow me. Follow hard truth. Please subscribe to our podcast.
That's a good way. That's a good way to end it. So everyone, make sure you subscribe to the Hard Truth platform, and we will see you again in the very near future. But listen, thanks for being here. Big shout out to everybody in all the different streams. Appreciate you being here, and we'll catch up with you soon. I'll be back, by the way, tomorrow night on my own stream. So see you then, folks. That's it from Alana and myself. Bye.
Bye-bye.